Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for some football? Hello everybody, Spillidge here, alongside Boredy McBored, and this is week 10 of Madden NFL 22. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wild season so far with injuries on top of injuries, headlines on top of headlines, but don't you worry, Spillidge and Boredy McBored is going to cover all of that today. How you doing, Boredy?
You know, Spillage, I am feeling good. Back after a while. Glad to be back in action, especially after such a crazy week. You know, you talked about the games that were interesting. Well, there's also that off the field stuff that's also interesting and we'll get into. So it's dual things going on in the NFL that's just all the rage and everything to talk about. Right now, we are going to see the Minnesota Vikings versus the Chargers. These are two teams that really have some interesting paths and are also in interesting places. You talk about the Chargers. You know, they have been having their ups and downs all season, just like the Vikings, but in polar opposite ways. The Vikings not really getting their sea legs under them, winning, should have won a lot of games, but just losing it at the last minute. The Chargers, probably the opposite. Definitely starts off slow, but finds a way to win. Has had some low points though. So it's very interesting to see these two teams, but also interesting to just be here. And especially after a crazy week of NFL action, hopefully this next week, maybe it'll calm down a bit in the personal life, but hopefully the football action remains awesome.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a simulation of the upcoming match that you will see this Sunday on Fox at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So without further ado, let's get into the action. All right, so wow. Let's first talk about Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, unvaccinated, caught the COVID, and did he fib about it? Or did he fib about
a little white lie that it's still a lie?
Yeah, like half a truth is still a lie. I mean, at least according to what my grandma used to say to me. But yeah. And so the question is he going to get the same treatment as Cam Newton, as he chose not to get the vaccine? Is he going to get that same Cam Newton treatment? What do you think, Boredy?
Well, he's Aaron Rodgers. He won MVP last year. The league has never really particularly liked Cam Newton, so he's definitely not going to get the treatment that Aaron Rodgers has. But you look at what Aaron Rodgers has got, not only from Cam Newton perspective, right? He's not on an NFL roster. The Panthers picked up Matt Barkley rather than to pick up Cam, which is ridiculous, right? But you look at Aaron Rodgers, even teams in the NFL are saying that the Packers weren't treated fairly. You have teams like the Raiders and the Saints who have lost draft compensation. The Raiders have to pay a massive $500,000 fine for COVID violations.
Ouch.
Yes, ridiculous. But then you look at what Aaron Rodgers has been fined with. I was talking right before the broadcast with Spillage. This is a tweet from Chris Sims, who tweeted this 5 hours from kickoff time, which is 1 p.m. right now. CeeDee Lamb was fined $20,000 for having his jersey untucked last week.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Right. Untucked jersey, $20,000. Aaron Rodgers was fined $14,000 for ignoring COVID protocols all season. I get the enforcement rules are different, but it just looks bad and doesn't add up. That's the end of Chris Sims' quote.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
I agree. Totally. I agree. It doesn't really add up. But unfortunately, and I hate this quote, but it is what it is when it comes to National Football League. I wish things would be different with the league. But the league, when it comes to enforcing the rules, they're not exactly equal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. There are a lot of rules that aren't equal. I mean, you look at the enforcement of roughing the passer calls. Justin Fields got absolutely lit up last night, or 2 nights ago. I apologize if you see Austin Eckler get about 4 yards on that game. You saw him get smashed up, and Roethlisberger got a weak hit and was given a roughing the passer call. Justin Fields wasn't. You look at the taunting call, which I'll let you take over from that, Spill, because I know you feel passionate about taunting calls.
Absolutely, because, Boredy, I played football myself, in high school and in junior high. And, it's a part of the game. It's all about competition. At least that's what I thought growing up. But a lot has changed. A lot has changed since then. I played defensive tackler, and when you feel like you made a great play, and sometimes you have sometimes talking trash just come naturally because that's how you were trained. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody take over your house. This is your house. You must protect your house. But again, a lot has changed since then. But speaking of changes, the Los Angeles Chargers, formerly known as San Diego Chargers, now Los Angeles Chargers, that will be hosting at their new home of Sophie Stadium in Inglewood, of what's left of Inglewood. Just kidding. So here is the lineup for the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, you have the QB, the sophomore Justin Herbert, with an impressive season so far. So far, he generated 2,350 yards, 18 touchdowns, with a 66% completion for the season. Very impressive. Definitely got to work on the interceptions because he has 6 right now on the season. Not bad. That's, keeping it in the single digits. Then also for running back, Austin Echoler, with another impressive season himself. He has 479 yards this season in his stats, 5 touchdowns with an average of 4.7 yards. And then you have another running back, the second string. You have Justin Jackson of Chicago, Illinois. And so far, he ran about 101 yards to help with the drive here. And then as far as receiving goes, wide receiver, and that is Keenan Allen of Greensboro, North Carolina. He have 57 catches with 2 touchdowns with an average of 10 yards. Then wide receiver, Mike Williams, representing Clemson, with 37 catches, 6 touchdowns with an average of 15 yards. Very impressive. And then as far as the defense goes, you have the safety, and that is Derwin James. And this man is having a great season so far. 45 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 2 passes defended. And wow! Was that a pick 6? Absolutely, touchdown, Minnesota. 71-yard pick 6. Ouch.
Oh, man, and you talked a little bit about the interception problem that Justin Herbert has had. They're doing something different, the offensive coordinator with Justin Herbert, and it seems sometimes, at least this year, he's been a little bit off, going more outside than deep down inside the field. And, that's definitely good sometimes, getting a quick game going. You can make somebody miss on the outside. But, man, you can also make yourself miss if you miss the throw. You're throwing it probably right to a cornerback who could take it to the house for 6.
Great job by Mackenzie Alexander for the read. He read him like scripture, caught the pick, and took it to the house for 71 yards. That will definitely add great into his repertoire this season, Boredy.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, how many times do defensive players score in their whole careers? Not a lot. So any score, safety, pick six, whatever, feels good for a defender. I know he's going to be keeping that game ball.
And that'll definitely put a smile on the defensive coordinator's face, that's for sure. And speaking of Vikings, the Vikings is second place in the NFC North division. So far, overall, they're 3-5. Their last 5 losses were by the Ravens, most recently 31-34, and then the Dallas Cowboys with the 2016. And then you have the the Cleveland Browns with a low score of 14-7. And then also with the Arizona Cardinals, 33-34. And Cincinnati Bengals, 24-17. And and also the opener, which was the Kansas City Chiefs, 25-28. That must be frustrating for the coach, Boredy, to have all their losses be incredibly close.
Yes, if you look back on that, all of them are one-possession games. They're always right in these games, but they just can't finish. And sometimes it's inexplicable, right? Them shooting themselves in the foot. Almost did it against the Lions. Thank God they actually pulled that off. But had some problems there. You see against the Cowboys, them also making a drive down the field and not really being able to finish it and just not managing time well. But then you also have them trying to come back, them making a mistake. You have their offense stalling out against Baltimore. The Vikings have had a frustrating season. And, even though you see 7 on the board right now, maybe in Madden, it's a little bit safer. But in real life, that does not mean that the Vikings are out of hot water. They're probably more in it in a close one.
Absolutely. And Austin Echoler with 5 yards rush. Got to start somewhere. All right, so let's talk about the lineup for the Vikings. You have number 8 QB. And that is Kirk Cousins this season with 2,140 yards. Not bad. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a 68% completion. A little better than Justin Herbert's stats, Boredy.
Yeah, and that's really surprising to hear when you think about the Chargers, when you think about Justin Herbert, you think about this massive down the field passing attack. But like I said, offensive coordinator changed it up a bit, so they're not getting these breakaway plays like they used to last year.
As a matter of fact, I mean, those types of stats will make anybody smile if they pick Kirk Cousins for fantasy football. And then, of course, you have the rusher, and that is Florida State's own Devin Cook with 2 touchdowns with an average of 4 yards per carry. And so far he has about 554 yards. He's halfway there on the 1,000-yard club. So what are your thoughts on Dalvin Cook, Boredy?
Dalvin Cook, man. First of all, he seems like he's going through his own issue. It's funny, we picked this matchup not because of the news that came out today, but because this seems like a challenging matchup in the NFL this week. Yes. But it seems like he is going through a challenging situation. Seems to be domestically abused by his girlfriend, or maybe there's just a disagreement in domestic situations overall for them. More details need to come out. So I know he's going through his own situation. But you look at Dalvin Cook, comparing him last year to this year, right? Last year, it was, oh my gosh, Dalvin Cook saved me. In every single game, Dalvin Cook just tearing off these monster runs and doing a lot. But unfortunately, you talked about the injuries earlier this broadcast. Injuries have caught up to him, and his ankle issues have caused a little bit of a dip of in his production. Hopefully towards the later half of the year, he'll start to get healthy again.
Yes.
I think that they've already gone through their bye week, so not going to get any more rest, but hopefully can tighten up his ankle situation, because if not, then it's gonna really eat at this Vikings offense. They could be even more prolific, maybe win these games.
And almost picked off again. Wow, great job by the Vikings defense. I believe that's one of the reasons why the Vikings has been losing by just a small, by one possession, because the defense is doing all the work, Boredy.
Yeah, defense doing some work here, and that's what happens. Well, I don't know what's been going on with Justin Herbert. Sophomore slump, probably. That happens. And also too, I talked about the offensive coordinator. But this Vikings defense has been off and on, and right now they're feeling a little bit on. Had some turnovers. It was the offense that couldn't finish against Baltimore, so maybe they can turn it on and get some juice in them this week.
All right, and speaking of Vikings, you have running back here, Alexander Maddison, number 25, representing Boise State, and his stats is so-so. He so far he carried about 273 yards, an average of 4 yards per carry as a second string. And then you have the wide receiver, and that is Justin Jefferson of LSU. And so far, he has about 632 yards this season, 4 touchdowns, 46 receptions, with an average of 14 yards average. So that's not bad for him. And then, of course, wide receiver, and that is Adam Thielen of Minnesota State. 7 touchdowns, 477 yards, and 45 receptions with an average of 10.6 yards. So that's some impressive stats, and something to definitely think about if you haven't picked them already for your fantasy football roster. And Dalvin Tomlinson with amazing sack for 6-yard loss. 3rd and 11, ball on the 30.
Oh, man. So you talked about the defense heating up. Right now, they're heating and still cooking and heating up. You know, Justin Herbert can be really good against pressure, but kind of sounds paradoxical. It's true. He's not that very good against the blitz. So you do some really exotic blitzes around him, you can get really confused. You can really eat off of that.
And great job by number 13 with the catch, and the chains are moving. And ladies and gentlemen, number 13 is none other than Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen. You know, he's very good. Always dependable hands. I'm glad that he's having a streak of health, because he's such a good wide receiver. The Chargers deserve nice things after their history.
Yeah.
I hope that he stays healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, fortunately for the Chargers, they don't have a QB problem. They, you know, after the former QB left, Rivers, after Rivers left, everybody was wondering who is going to replace this quarterback, and then along came Justin Herbert and answered their prayers. So that's a huge relief for the fans and for the coaching staff. So now Justin Herbert with a fantastic rookie season last year, and now he's trying to bring the Chargers into playoff contendership.
Yeah, because the Chargers, like I said, they deserve nice things. And their team, when you look at it, on paper it seems really nice. The only problem is their biggest problem, I would say. Not their only problem. Their biggest problem is their run defense. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's great, sometimes not so much, eh? So I really want to see more from them, because they're a great team. They're a playoff team. if they can just get their run defense together, they can be scary, just like the Vikings defense.
And let me tell you something. Great job by the Vikings defense for stopping once again another Charger drive. The PAT is up and the kick is good. So the score, Minnesota Vikings 7, Chargers 3. So it's still a one-possession game.
But if you're a Vikings fan, you don't feel good about that at all.
Right. But fortunately for the Chargers, they still have plenty of time left in the game to catch the lead or gain the lead. All right, so we have about 2 minutes and 32 seconds left on the clock for the first half.
So you said that the Chargers, they have a lot of time left to carry the league, but do you think that they have enough time to potentially be the carry spot in the AFC, potentially be one of the top teams in the AFC? The AFC is crazy, Spillidge. Tell me what you think or feel about that entire conference. Who you think you might come out on top?
It's really still too early to tell. It's really between Arizona and the Rams. What surprised me the most is the fall from grace from the Kansas City Chiefs. I couldn't believe that this is the same team that competed against Tom Brady in last season's Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Chiefs have massively, and I mean massively, fallen off. When you look at the whole NFL picture, they have just done badly. And it's very unfortunate because if you look at them, their offenses, you would think that, okay, their defense would be bad, but at least their offense can carry them. Their offense is still bad. And so maybe Odell, there's rumors that Odell might come there. That might revitalize them a little bit. But Patrick Mahomes has gone from one of the luckiest players when it comes to turnovers to one of the most unlucky. Completely the opposite, and that's really shot them in the foot.
You know, the thing is, when you think you have everything figured out until they start studying you, and now you have to learn, you have to try a different way of playing in order to, stay relevant. That's what Patrick Mahomes has to do. But as far as Odell Beckham going to the Kansas City Chiefs, I wouldn't put it past that at all, because Odell said, and quote, "I want to be a part of the winning team." I'm pretty sure that was a jab to Baker Mayfield. I don't know.
You think?
I think that was a jab to Baker Mayfield. And but anywho, but if he's talking about joining a winning team, then he might want to reconsider going to the Chiefs, because I don't know what's really going on with the offense. Well, we know what's going on with the offense. Injuries. Excuse me. I mean, think about it. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has got, how many times he got rocked a couple of times and had an injury scare this season.
Yeah. He's definitely playing hurt. I talked about it earlier in the season, his toe, but it feels like it's probably a little bit more than that, too.
Yeah, lingering injuries that, it's like, hey, man, you signed this contract of $500 million for 10 years, so you'll be all right. Get back in there. First, second and 12, ball on the midfield. Great catch by number 18. Still go. Oh, it was a fumble.
Oh no.
And just like that, what a lucky break by LA Chargers. That is exactly the break that the defense needed. Because let me tell you something, Jefferson was about to take it to the house. He was breaking tackles left and right, but great job by the Chargers defense to knock the ball out of his hands. So now here comes Herbert and the Chargers offense. Can they redeem themselves before the end of the first half? Let's find out.
And isn't that a perfect analogy of the craziness that happened last week? It looked like there were some teams that were going to fly away, were going to be some of the top teams in NFL. And then what do you know? They fumbled it, and then they just don't know what to do, and then they're doing bad things. Like you look at Dallas and what they're doing with the Broncos, and then you look at the Jags beating the Bills. A couple of weeks ago, Spillidge, we were talking about Urban not having a job anymore. That's crazy.
Looks like the fumble has been overturned because according to the fumble has been overturned by the booth. According to the instant replay, he was down before the ball came loose. So what a lucky break by Jefferson. Not so lucky by the Chargers. 1st and 10, ball on the 31-yard line, and the time has moved back 3 seconds. So now they got about a minute. Great catch. And a quick timeout to stop the clock. Great coaching decision.
Yeah, if only they used this coaching decision during the Dallas game, maybe they would have come back from that victory too.
Speaking of Dallas, do you think they're going to make it to the playoffs?
I think they're Super Bowl contenders, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? Because no one wants to admit when the Cowboys are good because then the Cowboys are, oh, what about them Cowboys? So,
wow, Kirk Cousins got crushed like a soda can.
Crushed like a soda can, like Dallas did against the Broncos. So they had a really bad week this week. Their defense is really good, though. Their defense wasn't as good last week. Teddy Bridgewater came to life, honestly, and tore their defense up. Dak had a very off game, just extremely off. They're one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, and then put up a zero burger until the last couple of possessions. So, sometimes that happens coming off an injury. Players don't play well. You saw what Tyrod Taylor did against the Dolphins, right? We see what Saquon Barkley looks like right now. We see what Christian McCaffrey is doing right now. Pretty much nothing. And that happens when you come off a big injury like that.
Right, and Tyrod Taylor, what a rough couple of seasons that he experienced. Lost his job over at LA last season, and found a job over at Houston, and then another injury came, and now he's back. It's good to see that he hasn't given up, or the NFL hasn't given up on him.
Yeah, that's surprising.
2nd and goal, ball on the 4, got 19 seconds left on the clock. And the catch, touchdown, Vikings. Adam Thielen, number 19. You can hear the boos all the way to Hollywood.
Oh, man, and they're already the little brother in town. The Chargers better not let the Vikings score up on them, because we already talked about how shaky the Vikings are. But mind you, they're still in these games. Maybe this week they finally figure out a way to turn it around.
Absolutely. I mean, all they have to do is win out, and they're in the playoff picture. PAT is up, and the PAT is good. Now it is still a one-possession game. The score, is it a one-possession? No, it's not. It's a two-possession game this time.
Well,
all right, the score is Minnesota Vikings 14, the Chargers 3.
Spillage, I have some breaking news when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. 2 hours ago, it was reported that Andrew Zimmer said, the coach of the Vikings, said that a player had to go to the ER because of COVID and pneumonia.
Oh, no.
The player's stable right now, so that's a good thing, but still in the hospital. And guess what, Spillage? This is huge for that team. 29 people have had close contact. We don't know if there's players, if they're coaches, trainers, staff. We have no idea. But we saw that 8 people being off the coaching staff in the Saints made a huge difference to how they looked in the beginning of the season. This can't be good for that player. One, we're hoping and praying for him, but then also, two, for this team as a whole.
Wow. Just wow. That's... Oof. Yeah,
They're cursed, man. They're
I'm pretty sure that the owner and the general manager is not happy about that at all. First and 10. Looks like they're going to wrap it up for the first half, and we have halftime. So wow, that is indeed breaking news, and that's definitely exactly what the NFL has feared, is to have outbreaks like this. That will affect not only the whole team but the league itself, which now I'm pretty sure is going to frown. They're going to frown even harder on Aaron Rodgers and those who refuse to follow protocol.
Yeah, because the Vikings are the least vaccinated team in the league, and he was having trouble breathing. Not Zimmer was. I apologize. The player's name was Dakota Dozier. And now he's stable, but still in the hospital. And it's crazy because you look at, that team, and, them and the Washington football team, it seemed like they were having some issues with their head coach, fighting back and forth with COVID protocol. And now you see Aaron Rodgers, they didn't take him so seriously before, but when you have players, they're athletes, their lungs are a huge part of their game. You have players who are unable to play properly because they can't breathe. The league seriously needs to look at it. I mean, I know the league has been in disregard of player safety before, but it's something that is so preventable, unlike the concussive nature of football itself. Maybe they start to actually enforce some things.
Yeah, like as you stated before, the Minnesota Vikings is the least vaccinated team in the league, but sounds like that's about to change real soon.
Oh yeah, this is their livelihood, right? I understand not wanting to put yourself at risk of taking a medicine that you don't know will interact with your body, but you also don't know how a virus will interact with your body as well. And when you have 29 people you're in close contact with, I can imagine if you're alone by yourself, maybe it's a little easier to take that risk. But when you're constantly around players, and the most important thing about NFL is availability. If you're not available, it's next man up. They might take your job. That's not going to feel comfortable if you're a player going through that. So changes will probably occur.
Absolutely. And great drive by Devin Cook, 13 yards, and Bosa stopped him, but the chains are moving. Now, as far as what you just said, it's definitely going to be some changes within that team, and quite possibly in the league. I think the league going to be more vigilant when it comes to COVID protocol calls. Probably the penalties will probably be a little harsher than what it is today in the near future because of the outbreak. But having COVID is one thing, but pneumonia, that's a double whammy. Especially keep in mind, Minnesota is not exactly the warmest place in the world, Boredy, at this time.
No. And we all have been in the cold, trying to breathe at a bus stop, and it's a little bit chilly and it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you have pneumonia. On top of that, you're recovering from pneumonia. Oh yeah, and then you have to play a football game, moving a million miles per hour, and you're at a 2-minute drill on top of that. The league is going to do some serious things with this, and I don't know where they go with this. Of course, more penalties like you're talking about, probably more punishments and enforcements. But when you have this still happening, last year it made sense because we didn't have as much protocol. They're still going on with the show. Last year it kind of didn't even still make sense with some of the policies and the way that they handled COVID. But this year, at least you have a vaccine, stringent mask mandates, more player safety precautions, and this is still happening. More things are going to happen to make sure 29 players or people on that team don't get infected again like they did in Baltimore, right? Remember that happened to the Ravens last year.
Right. That's right. It did happen with the Ravens. It looks like they decided to play it safe and punt the football for instead of just trying to do the QB sneak to see if they can sneak an inch. But all right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, the score is the same. 1st and 10, ball on the 26-yard line. And so far, the Chargers are indeed struggling courtesy of the Vikings defense.
Man, and their defense has been up and down. I tell you what, though, I really like what Anthony Barr is doing there, man. He's such a beast, really doing some good things, and really that's probably why they're having penetration in the game right now, because he is a monster on that defensive line, I apologize. Really creates pressure that the quarterback can't handle, and like I said, Justin Herbert's great at the pressure, but when it comes to the blitzes, man, it's hard, and when you have linebackers that are doing crazy things, that makes your life even harder.
Absolutely. And you know, in real life, if the Chargers, not the Chargers, but the Vikings had 4th and inches and they just needed an inch, I mean, in real life, they would have just, have Devin Cook to run it for an easy couple of yards. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, hey, man, that's Dalvin Cook, man. He can always get you a couple yards.
Absolutely. 1st and 10, new set of downs, ball on the 38-yard line. The Chargers are indeed driving, but they need to play with a little sense of urgency.
Yeah, definitely need to come with some fire. Again, the Vikings, they had close games, so that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. It just means that they've had bad luck. You can't sleep on them. I know the Chargers, you think they have a prolific offense. Right now, they're not playing like it. And if you sleep too long, guess what? It's going to be hard to wake up.
Absolutely. And, last season, my fantasy football roster involved Cooper Kupp, Austin Echoler, and Justin Herbert. And my goodness, you talk about a very nice accumulation of points, but I came up short. Unfortunately, on the playoffs. It was the quarterfinals.
Man, because that team sounds like, especially last year too, unstoppable, man. Justin Herbert was putting up crazy numbers. That's when he was really tossing down the field. Not this much this year.
Ooh, my goodness! And Richardson just ate Herbert alive for a loss of 2 yards. What a sack!
Shelly Shell Richardson. He used to play for the Jets, and he still hasn't let go of that ferociousness. Really good pass rusher. I'm glad that he was able to get to the quarterback.
And I mean, Sheldon Richardson was hungry for a QB. He definitely had his feast in the last play. So 4th and 12, ball on the 37-yard line. That was a 5-yard sack, by the way. My apologies, but great job by the defense again, stopping the Chargers drive.
5 yards is huge in the NFL. That is half of a down, right? First down is 10. A regular down is 4 downs, 10 yards. That's half of that. So you're adding a half of that to your thing. That's going to be hard for you to come by. There are not a lot of 15-yard plays in the league.
Right. And so, speaking of headlines, and I'm pretty sure people are still talking about it, what are your thoughts on the tragic situation with former Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III?
It's in situations like this, there are no winners. It's just sad. I can't. Henry Ruggs made a terrible decision that a whole family, himself, won't be able to recover from. And I'm not just talking about, his career. Of course, he probably lost his career and his freedom outside of a jail unit. But then also, too, you'll have to live with that for the rest of his life. And it's not something he intended to do, but it's something that unfortunately affects a lot of people Um, Prayers to that girl and her family. I really think it means too much. So really, really sad. And I think in this situation, it's very easy to claim that people are monsters and terrible people, and it is a terrible decision to do that. But having known a person who, unfortunately, ended up being a drunk driver in the passenger seat with their best friend, and they passed. Having known that, there's no. It's easy to blame someone. It's just sad overall. They didn't mean to do that, but it still doesn't make it okay. But it doesn't make someone a monster. It's a very nuanced thing. I apologize. It doesn't make sense probably coming out. I'm not giving any excuses for him and Ruggs. I pray for him. I pray for the family. I pray for her and her family.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing good that came out of it. It's just a lost life, and a lost puppy. And Henry Ruggs is going to lose not his life in totality, but a part of him. Probably died that day. Especially with all the consequences and the fallout that comes with it.
It just, we easily forget how fragile life is. I mean, you can be on top of the world, and all it takes is just one costly decision, and then everything that you work hard for is gone in an instant. It's very sad. Because it's not just the individuals involved in the accident that are affected, it's also their families as well. So, no amount of money can ever replace a life of a human being. So it's definitely going to be some trying times for both families.
Yeah, because if you look at the family of the young lady who lost her life, that hurt their daughter isn't coming back. The good times and the memories that they have with them are now cemented as memories, because she unfortunately is no longer with us. But then you look at Ruggs' family, and their family had a pathway to a life of fortune that many in this world never see, and now that's not going to be available to them anymore. And who knows what finances and Ruggs committed to already that they have to deal with now. It sucks. There's no winners. It's just a tragedy overall, and I'm really thinking about the victim's family most, obviously, but then Rodgers too, because they've also lost a son. Even though if he's still here with us, he's not going to be available to them because of what he's done.
Right. Just hopefully that the league and all the players of especially the members of the NFL Players Association, I hope they all would learn from all of this, so we won't have, so that none of us will hear a similar tragic news like this again.
Yeah, I've talked with friends who have drunk too much, and they've gone and they've gotten away clear. I've talked with friends who have been through DUIs, and he didn't fortunately crash and fell asleep at the wheel. Had to pay a butt ton of money, and so still he didn't. Of course, nothing tragic happened, but it still wasn't worth it. And just think about the fact, like, even if there's a possibility you could seriously hurt yourself, seriously change the life of others, and even if you do make it one time. How many times is it worth it? You don't know. You don't know how many times. Even that one time, you don't know if you will. So just, we have Uber. It can get expensive and ridiculous, but it's worth it when you look at the fines. Even if you don't kill somebody, like the fines are like up to $2,000 and training and hours of community service and all that. But then you go also affect somebody else's life and affect your own because you have to live with that.
Absolutely. So, folks, Uber and Lyft, you have options. Just
taxis.
If you feel inebriated, just don't pick up the keys. Just grab an Uber and Lyft. There's no excuse at all. All right, so moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, 1st and 10. The chains are moving, and we have about a little under 3 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. And right now, the clock is indeed moving against the Chargers' favor. Both teams have 3 timeouts remaining. 1st and 10, ball on the 22. Here comes the snap. Pressure's coming. Herbert with a quick pass and great stop.
I tell you what, if the Vikings get anything close to the defense that they are right now against this really, like I said, they have the potential to be prolific. They haven't always been, but they definitely do have the potential. They're going to seriously look at a turnaround. This NFC, you talked about how the disparity in the AFC was so close. This NFC, a couple of stinker teams could get in, and the Vikings certainly aren't any stinkers. They just haven't been lucky.
And let me tell you, Boredy, I mean, the defense once again are carrying the load and definitely making it hard for the Chargers. Do you think this will be a realistic outcome this Sunday?
The Vikings defense is good. I'm not sure if it's that good. If it is, it'll definitely have to come from those blitzes that are talking about. If they can maintain some good man coverage on the back end and make sure that their front 7 are doing some crazy things right there, Anthony Barr can be a beast, then they can have a result, maybe being another close game, right? I don't think the Chargers are going to go out like punks, but guess what? They also have been struggling. Of course, they didn't struggle against the Eagles because the Eagles have let everybody play against them. But Justin Herbert, the 3 out of 4 previous games, he has not been as Justin Herbert as he's been in the past. So that's something to consider.
Absolutely. And so let me ask you this. As far as the playoffs go, we still, in a sense, leaning towards the second half of the NFL season. November is a very crucial month. It's a must-win situation if you're talking about being a part of the wild card. Do you think the Minnesota Vikings have a chance to make it to the wild card?
Oh, absolutely. Let me pull up the standings right now, because if I believe so, the standings, there's a lot, it's very top-heavy, right? When you look at the NFL standings in the NFC, you have, okay, let's look at it right here. You have the Bucks who are doing well, right? They're doing great up there. The Cardinals, of course, the Packers, and Los Angeles Rams, right? They're probably locks. Dallas, of course, there as well. Okay, so you look at the division, right? Look at the division with the Vikings, with the Packers, right? So they're probably not going to get the division heights, right? But what they can do is they can sneak in. The Panthers are falling. The Falcons, they're certainly better than the Falcons and the Saints, too, who are all ahead of them in the standings. I think they can jump at least 2 of those teams and end up being a wild card in the NFC.
Do you think the Falcons will surprise everyone at the end of the season?
No.
By making it to the wild card?
No.
Nope.
I won't let you finish. No. Their defense, of course. You have Grady Jarrett, who's amazing. Oh my gosh, Grady Jarrett can just 2 players could be on him, and he'll just win in pressure towards the quarterback. Right? He's crazy, right? Their defense has really been cupcake soft secondary, the problem that they've had for years, and they still haven't solved it. And then you look at the offensive line. Matty Ice turn into Matty Ice. Matt Ryan's been playing like Matthew Ryan a little bit throughout this year, but he played like Matty Ice last year, doing some jukesies and getting making some plays for this team. I don't know if he could sustain it, especially when you lose a player like Calvin Ridley. It's going to be hard, and I just don't think that they have the firepower. Even though they have Pitts and Cordero Patterson, of course, I don't think they necessarily have that firepower to balance that offensive line being as shaky as it is.
And I wish Calvin Ridley the best of luck, because mental health is definitely important, very crucial. Because you can have muscles on top of muscles, but if your mind is sick, then guess what? Overall, you're not well. So it's very important to maintain mental health and to stay happy and healthy. That's very important. So we definitely wish Calvin Ridley all of the best. And for those who are struggling with mental health, you can always go to www.gethelp.com. That's www.gethelp.com. And the website will have you fill out a survey in which you type in your location, and the website will give you a reference of the right psychiatrist and treatment for you. All right, and it's affordable on top of everything else, which is a huge plus. So that's gethelp.com.
And for years, and I'm glad the stigma's finally starting to change. For years, it was seen as a weakness if you were to ask for help for mental issues, because sometimes, look at Calvin Ridley. He has all the fame and fortune in the world that he can ask for. That still doesn't make you happy. Sometimes with depression and anxiety and all these things, you can be inexplicably sad or inexplicably anxious, and things could be going right in your life, but you still feel bad, and that's okay, because sometimes our brains are wired differently. Sometimes you don't realize some of the traumas that you've been through. So that's why it's important to get help and to talk to people about it, talk to trained licensed professionals, or to talk to therapy groups that can really help you maintain, process these things, or even if you don't have a situation that's going, how to deal with these feelings that you may have, expunge them in healthy ways. And I'm so glad that even if you have these muscular, tall gladiators who are doing all these things on the field, even they realize you need help and you need to stop a second and to make sure your body can be right, but sometimes your mind isn't. And if your mind isn't right, then it doesn't matter how good your body might be, quote unquote, you still are not functioning as a person sometimes. So that's why it's important to get help, to talk to those your loved ones, professional help that can make it.
Absolutely. And touchdown LA, and much needed one, but looks like it's a little bit too late unless they go for the 2-point conversion to make it a 3-point game. Let's see if they'll pull it off. And they did not. So now they got to